Tonight, breaking news around the world. Ty Gibbs holds off Christopher Bell to win Iowa NASCAR Cup Series race. NASCAR chase picture tightens with regular season entering final stretch. Formula One eyes potential return to Africa as talks progress. Palou scores back-to-back IndyCar wins with Portland victory. And your race recap for the NRL and WGP. Hello everybody and welcome to the Monday edition of VBS Evening News. We'll start off with Ty Gibbs. He has picked up one of the biggest victories in his NASCAR Cup Series career, holding off fellow Joe Gibbs racing driver Christopher Bell to win at Iowa Speedway. Gibbs delivered a strong performance throughout the race, but it was the closing stages that ultimately decided the outcome. For sure. As the field returned to green flag racing late in the event, Gibbs found himself in position to fight for the victory. Christopher Bell, though, remained very close behind, putting pressure on Gibbs during the final laps. With both drivers fighting for track position, the battle became one of the key storylines of the afternoon. But Gibbs held the line. He maintained control of the race and crossed the finish line ahead of Bell to claim the win. The victory is especially significant for Gibbs as he continues to build his reputation in NASCAR's premier division. After making the jump to the Cup Series full-time, Gibbs has steadily developed into a driver capable of competing for wins against some of the sport's most experienced stars. For Bell, the second-place finish is another strong result, but coming that close to victory will leave the team looking back at the final stages of the race and wondering if there was an opportunity to make one more move. The Iowa victory also comes at an important point in the season. With the NASCAR chase approaching, momentum is becoming increasingly important. For Gibbs, the message is very clear. He's capable of winning when the pressure is at its highest. The NASCAR Cup Series chase picture is becoming more intense by the week, with the regular season now entering its final stretch. For drivers already safely inside the playoff field, the focus is on maintaining consistency, avoiding mistakes, and building momentum before the championship battle officially begins. But for those around the playoff cut line, well, not anymore, but that's a whole thing. The situation is definitely much more urgent, people who have less points. With only a handful of opportunities remaining to secure a spot, or at least get a spot, every position in the standings can make a major difference. A strong finish can make a driver closer to safety, while one difficult afternoon can completely change the picture. And there is always the possibility that a driver outside the field could win a race and dramatically shake up the standings, like an underdog. That makes the final portion of the regular season particularly unpredictable. Teams are now entering a period where strategy becomes just as important as raw speed. Drivers may be more willing to take risks, pit crews will face increased pressure, and every late race restart could have major championship implications. Meanwhile, the drivers already positioned well for the chase are looking to finish the regular season strong. Entering the postseason with momentum can be just as valuable as simply making the field. The fight is also taking place across the entire standings, with multiple drivers separated by relatively small margins as the final regular season races approach. The question is no longer simply who is fast enough to win, it's who can perform when a chase spot is on the line. My apologies. The NASCAR chase field is beginning to take shape, but there is still plenty of time for the standings to change. Formula One could be preparing for a historic return to Africa, with discussions surrounding a potential Grand Prix on the continent continuing to move forward. Formula One has not held a World Championship race in Africa since the South African Grand Prix at Kialame in 1993. More than 3 decades later, the possibility of bringing the sport back to the continent has once again become a major topic in the world of motorsport. Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali has indicated that negotiations for a potential African race are progressing, although no official return has been confirmed. One of the most frequently discussed possibilities is a return to Kialami, oh my God, in South Africa. The circuit has a long history with Formula One and has hosted numerous major international racing events over the decades. A South African Grand Prix would also give Formula One the opportunity to reconnect with a market that has historically played an important role in motorsport. The potential return comes as Formula One continues to expand its worldwide audience. In recent years, the championship has added races in new markets and placed an increasing emphasis on bringing Formula One to regions with large and growing fan bases. An African Grand Prix would further strengthen that global strategy while also restoring a race to a continent that has been missing from the calendar for more than 30 years. For fans, however, the biggest question remains where and when the race could happen. At this point, discussions are still underway, and there is no confirmed date for a return. But if an agreement is reached, Formula One could soon be preparing for its first African Grand Prix of the modern era. Alex Palou is once again showing why he remains one of the biggest forces in IndyCar. Palou has captured victory at Portland, giving him back-to-back wins and adding another major result to an already impressive season. The victory continues a recent stretch of strong performances for Palou, who has consistently found a way to remain near the front of the field. For sure. At Portland, Palou once again demonstrated the combination of speed, patience, and race management that has become a trademark of his driving style. The result is particularly important because of where it comes in the championship schedule. With the IndyCar season moving deeper into its final stages, every victory can have a major impact on the champion standings. Palou entered the weekend with momentum, for sure, and after his previous victory, he was able to carry that momentum directly into Portland. For his championship rivals, the recent results create an increasingly difficult challenge. When one driver begins putting together consecutive wins, the rest of the field has less room for error. Palou's consistency has also been a major part of his success. Rather than relying on a single dominant weekend, he has repeatedly put himself in position to score valuable points. Now, with another win secured, the pressure shifts to the rest of the IndyCar field. Can anyone slow down Palou before the championship is decided? There are still races remaining and anything can happen in IndyCar, but after consecutive victories, Palou has made one thing very clear. He is entering the final stretch of the season with serious momentum. Now it's time for your favorite part, the race recap. The NNRL was back in action Saturday night with the series making its way to Richmond for another round of racing, and overall it was a very successful night for the NNRL, with the field putting together a competitive race while avoiding the kind of major chaos that can sometimes come with short track racing. Richmond presented a unique challenge for the drivers. The tight layout meant there wasn't much room for error, while the close quarters gave drivers plenty of opportunities to battle for position. From the opening laps, the field settled into a strong rhythm, with drivers fighting throughout the pack and teams working to find the right balance between speed and consistency. One of the biggest positives from the race was just how clean the event remained. While there were still moments of close racing and drivers pushing the limits, the race largely avoided major incidents that could have completely changed the outcome. That allowed the competition to develop naturally as the laps continued to wind down. As the race entered its later stages, the pressure did begin to build. Drivers knew that every position could become important, and with the field still relatively competitive, there was still room to relax. The final portion of the race brought more battles as drivers looked to gain as many positions as possible before the checkered flag. But ultimately, the NNRL field was able to make it through the event in strong fashion. The NNRL now looks ahead to its next race, carrying the momentum from a strong weekend at Richmond. Just one day after the NNRL's trip to Richmond, the World Grand Prix was back on track Sunday for another round of WGP 1 Series competition, this time at Saitama. And unlike Saturday's relatively clean NNRL event, the WGP race brought a little more drama, with several wrecks taking place throughout the event, From the beginning, drivers were pushing hard around the Saitama circuit, with the field closely matched and position battles developing almost immediately. That competitiveness eventually led to several incidents, though, between Kragdev and Pedro. Drivers found themselves racing in tight quarters and on multiple occasions contact sent cars into trouble. The wrecks created some tense moments throughout the race and forced drivers and teams to quickly adjust as the event continued. For those involved, the incidents were extremely frustrating, but they got back up on their feet. A driver could spend several laps building a strong position only for one mistake or one piece of contact to completely change their race. As the race entered its closing stages, the pressure increased even further with fewer laps remaining. Drivers had to make difficult decisions about when to attack, but at the end of the day, it was a light finish. But ultimately, overall, in conclusion, Sunday delivered what the WGP 1 Series set out to provide: competitive racing, plenty of action, and a race that kept the field moving all the way to the finish. With another round now in the books, attention turns toward the next WGP event this weekend and another opportunity for the drivers to make their mark on the championship. And that's your race recap. Thank you for joining us and watching VBS Evening News. Those are all of your headlines for tonight. Have a great night.